Good day. I'm going to be breaking down the 7 deadly sins. My last video I did pride. So this one I want to do lust. Lust is one that I can definitely say I have had the most issues with out of the 7 deadly sins. And I didn't say this in my last video, and I think it's an important message, is that all of these sins are something we shouldn't be pointing at people for in condemnation. You know, we need to look at, how to guide people away from the sin so they can go to their repentance and their forgiveness and live their redemption, So it's that's why I want to speak on this. It's not so we can point out and condemn people. So that's by no meanings. And I even want to put more emphasis in this video on how we can help people with their lust, and some of these other deadly sins, I want to say right off the bat, there are a lot of the reasons why people fall for lust, and is we want love, we want affection, we want to be wanted, we want to be important in somebody's life, and we want to let somebody in. And because of all those things, and they're actually quite the vulnerabilities of this human body we have, is that we do have these needs, and I'm going to suggest that they're more wants than needs, because as you come closer to God, you can be you get more of that feeling of love from within your own heart and from with your own DNA, that you don't need to be searching it out in those ways. And that's why I promote people towards is their spirit, because their spirit will help them through those dark nights where they want to go out and meet somebody, or want to appease the flesh to avoid what's going on in the soul. And that's a lot of what I've done in the past, is let's say men have not been they haven't really liked me too much, and it's part of just being my kind of personality, and I don't like to play dominance games, so I like to make my own games up, and because of that, I'm usually pretty good at them. But because of that, I just don't fit in with the dudes too much, but women have been very much accepting of me. They've really liked me, and they've liked my mind, but obviously they've liked what I've done with my body also, and a lot of people will say with lust, it's one of those situations, like whatever you do between the couple, that's you and whoever you're having sex with, is the morality can be discussed and understood between the two of you, and doesn't have to leave your bedroom. It's like that. I believe that certain amount there's truth to that. However, there is the fact that people are doing this because they want to be loved, and they know that they can show their body and their sex size. They'll get their love, right? So we're taking advantage of a man, whatever story you want to tell it. Like I'm especially speaking for a man, is that women may pretend that they are interested in just physical, because they can see that you might just be into something more shallow, and that people act in a certain way so that they don't lose their chances with somebody. And that even goes for when you're in a relationship with a person, because when you're in a relationship with a person, somebody might say, well, let's try out this polyamory in one of the relationship probably, but one person in that relationship is actually likely fearful of losing the other person, and instead of making that known, they just say, okay, sure, and they just agree to it. And there's a cycle of abuse that a person allows on themselves because of their passivity. And if we wanted the best for our couple, we would start to notice when they're being passive and not truthful, so that you would act in accordance. So these are, we can tell ourselves lots of different stories to tell her that this isn't evil, but there's so many stories we can tell ourselves, and society makes it quite easy because we don't have a hell of a lot of morality behind sexuality. It's like we're living in this free sex time, and it's not working out for anybody. We human beings, when they come together and they love each other and they don't have this hedonistic morality of sexuality, they become more passionate with each other, and they build families, and you leave that it's a self-centered thing too when you are involved with other people and you're having sex with other people. You know what I mean? Like or doing any kind of, there's emotional stuff too, and a lot of men, I have a kind of an issue too with I have some problems with the way that couples are. So I'm kind of a paradoxical thinker, because I do believe it's healthy for us to come together and have healthy relationships and have children and not be so lustful and just to appease the flesh. However, on an emotional level, I believe that as long as people are honest with each other and there's not secrets being kept, then we should be less possessive of our significant other. And this means we should. That is part of the pathology of the couple is they become so connected to each other that there can become a little bit of you can become closed off, and also kind of put that possessive nature. You can also speak, and you can become egotistical because you're not speaking about certain things outside of the relationships, and you kind of agreed with each other that you won't. Then you speak on stuff that you likely won't speak outside of your couple between each other, and it allows pathologies to spread. It's very interesting how two people can get together and boost each other's egos. Yet if the one person was allowing the other, if they're both able to go out and emotionally speak with a significant other, another person, of another sex, where we allow them to speak truthfully and freely, but not hiding something from the other. It's got to be I've talked about it in another video about the Trinity, and how if you have these relationships, they have to be like this. They can't be lines. You have to all be connected to each other, and that's part of how you can get past the possessive nature, right? And I don't suggest anybody step into these kind of opening up emotionally until they've gotten control of their lust, because emotional connection is it does become a dangerous area if you don't have your dragon on a chain. So it's about centering in yourself before you can, and finding your own Trinity, and that's the voice in yourself that tells you can recognize which voice is speaking, the dark voice or the light voice, and which one you're listening to. And when you've got that set up, that's when you can be free to emotionally open up to a Trinity. However, you have to be very humble, or have to be very conscious. Are you really in control of that lust? Because we can tell ourselves so many stories, and human beings are little cognitive dissonance machines. So a lot of people will say, can guys and girls be friends? Yes, they can. However, there is situations, like we just kind of went through, is that it's dangerous. Right? We are playing with fire. And, but you know what? I believe the flame is where we get the energy. So, there's certain sayings, like, you can go out and get an appetite, but only eat at home, right? And it is actually based in science why things like that are important, and why if you get your lust under your control and your truth and then there is reasons why people can go and have somebody they're emotionally connected with, and that helps rise them up and stuff like that, makes them feel more vital, because that gives you an energy. Because you have it on chin, you can actually use that energy, right? But only way you can get to that, playing with fire, which is raising up the energy of the man in you, is when you've got your own dragon on a chain. And there's studies where they test the testosterone and maybe some other chemicals in the rats, and they put one female and one male in the cage, and at the beginning his testosterone's through the roof. They're mating all the time. It's all like he's got all that the flame, right? And he's got he built it because it's in our lives. We do look to the idea of the perfect woman to motivate us to be the perfect man. It's kind of like that woman in the sky in the clouds that a man looks up in the Bible stories, and so that is what naturally pushes a man up. And so as the rat was in there and they kept mating, his testosterone started, another chemical started to drop, and so they and it stayed down, and it kind of got lethargic and kind of just didn't really want to perform. And then they added another female. Guess what happened? Instantly, the chemicals, testosterone went up, and that he started to run on the thing and try to press and try to do all the things that the things that makes a man vital, right? So I've been in this. Like when in my marriage, because I became so not sexually connected to my wife, I became so, like, I noticed I was looking at women all the time, and I started to like have visions in my mind of like how I wanted everybody else besides my wife, right? And I've heard this story from many men, I've like heard quotes from other men that I would sleep with any other woman but my wife. And it's because of that science. Like, both of our wives, these two men I'm talking about, both my ex-wife now and his wife, are gorgeous, amazing women. I don't know her so well emotionally, but mine is an unbelievably emotionally intelligent and beautiful woman. So I had it so good, yet still that thing happens. So that's where, there is, when you become, for a man, it doesn't need to be sexual. When you get past your lust, it's just about being appreciated. A man needs to be appreciated. And I don't know if the rat in that cage, the first female rat, was just started to, was she starting to appreciate him less, and then as she appreciated him less, he started to do less, and then she appreciated him less, and it became like a river flowing downstream, right? it's like, or a snowball rolling downstream, right? Like it just got worse and worse. Like, is that what happened? Because that's does happen in relationships. So it's like we have to, I guess there's two sides. This is that ability to get your dragon on a chain so that you can be loved by other women or men of an opposite sex and still be in a relationship and have trust there. And that's how you can be appreciated and also, keep learning, because you can be shut off when you start to close yourself off into a relationship because, so those are those things. But the other thing that we can do in our relationship is as far as I only know what it's like to be a man and what I appreciate from a woman, and first of all, that we take care of each other. That's but even beyond that is just want to be appreciated. A man just wants to know he's needed and appreciated, and it's part we're built to serve, right? But if we serve and we don't seem to be appreciated, resentment sets in, and then that's the problem. So it's as far as I assume that's the same for a woman. It's so we need to just appreciate each other in the relationship and more too, and that will help us keep the flame inside of us going. Because there's a lot of people that are so dogmatic, they have such dogmatic beliefs through their church about masturbation and they really pathologize sex, and I believe there's, through masturbation, again, I've talked about this in other videos, that you can, if you are pure in your intention while you're masturbating, you can actually use that to gain energy, right? And that means not climaxing, right? Because you're releasing, and that becomes if you can become disciplined and do it without release, then you're doing it for a different intention, and it's about what's going on in your mind, and what you have to realize is it's a meditation, and it's a practice in building chi in your body. But as soon as you are just climaxing each time, it's not. You're losing energy, and you're using it for dopamine release. So we need to be less dogmatic. Like, as spiritual people, we should probably be less dogmatic of sexuality as it has been in the past, because we've seen how it just causes more issues. You don't suppress the dragon. You don't try to kill the dragon, because then the dragon is just way more powerful. He's deeper down, when he's willing to do darker things and just be way more willing to hide. And that's why we don't suppress our lust, okay? We channel it. And we're not condemning the lustful people. We want, if we do that, right, especially right to we condemn them, then saying it to them face and telling them this, right, you're pushing them more into that pathology. So all we can do for these people is love them more, tell them they're appreciated, right? Tell them that they're appreciated for their mind and who they are, right? Their substance rather than their body. That's how you're going to help people away from lust, and in turn helping us respect sexuality more, which is the sacred union that fractals out our human race. Much love.